Hi everyone, welcome back. I am Allison. I am a school librarian living and working in Austria, and thank you for stopping by. So, for a while I have really been interested in doing some recommendations of queer books. And I figured I would wait and do this during June, which is Pride Month in the United States. However, with everything that is currently going on in the world related to the queer community, by which I am specifically talking about the Don't Say Gay bill in Florida and the anti-trans bill in Texas and the bill in Oklahoma that wants to criminalize having LGBTQ books on the shelves in school libraries by charging schools like $10,000 a day and sending librarians to jail. I thought that now would be a good time to do a list like this. So I was putting things together and I wanted to do both middle grade and YA in one video. And it was going to be a big list to begin with because I have a lot of queer book recommendations and I want to share them all with you. But then, I made my list of middle grade and it was fine. And I started making my list of YA and it has 65 titles on it. So, I'm going to do two separate videos because that's a lot even for me and my long videos. So today, since it is currently middle grade March, I'm going to talk about 20 queer middle grade books that I think are excellent books you should have on your list. So I do have a couple of disclaimers. One is that I have not read every single book on this list. I believe that they are all good books with quality representation, and I have read a number of them, but I haven't gotten to all of them yet, so please take that with a small grain of salt. Also, a couple of them are not out yet, but they all come out within the next couple of months. The last thing that I wanted to say is that I do recognize that although I tried to include as many authors of color as I could, this list is still a very white list, and I do apologize for that, and I do hope that if we continue to support authors of color, especially queer authors of color, we will get more books by queer authors of color in the future. For now, I'm doing the best that I can with the resources that I could find. And when I do my list of YA books with queer characters, that will have more representation from authors of color. So stay tuned for that one. But like I said, I have 20 books on this list, so I am going to get right into it. So I do have my laptop in front of me. If I'm looking down, it's because I have the information from my list right there. So the first book that I want to share with you is King and the Dragonflies by Kacen Callender. And this book is about Kingston, who is sort of going through some stuff right now. First, his brother died, but he does still visit King in his dreams, and King is pretty convinced that his brother has actually become a dragonfly. And he really wants to talk to his best friend Sandy about this. But before his brother died, he told King that he and Sandy shouldn't be friends anymore because he heard a rumor that Sandy is gay. And his brother says that, King wouldn't want anyone else to think that he was gay too because he was friends with Sandy. And then Sandy goes missing, and King is the one to find him, and together they sort of set off on this adventure, and King is sort of helping Sandy with his own family problems. But King really has to figure out who he is now, both without his brother and with his own identity and his relationship to Sandy. So that is the first book on my list. Second book is Small Town Pride by Phil Stamper. And this is Phil Stamper's first middle grade. He's written a couple of YA books already. And it comes out in May, so not too long to wait. And it is about Jake, who is the first openly gay kid at his school. And his friends and family have all been really supportive of this, but other people in his small Ohio town do not feel the same way. So So Jake's dad puts out this like super huge rainbow flag at their house, and the mayor starts getting complaints from all these other townspeople because they are worried that this rainbow flag could lead to just the most unimaginable, unthinkable thing ever, which is a pride parade in their town. Jake thinks this sounds like a great idea, so he and his friends set out to organize this parade. So I think this sounds like such a fun book. This is one I haven't read yet, but it is on my TBR. Such a fun book, not just about like being gay in middle school, but also activism and advocacy. So I'm really looking forward to that one. Next is the graphic novel Beetle and the Hollow Bones by Eliza Lane. Maybe Eliza Lane, I'm sorry, I don't know. And this is about Beetle, who lives in a town called Aloes, and there, some people are witches, and some people have their spirits trapped in the mall for all of eternity. And Beetle is a goblin witch, but her best friend, Blobglost, is a spirit who's trapped in the mall. She calls them BG for short, by the way. And Beetle really wants to spend all of her time with BG, but she also feels like spending all this time in the mall is kind of boring. And then her former best friend, Cat, comes back to town for her own sorcery apprenticeship. And Beetle is like really jealous of Cat because Cat seems to be and have everything that Beetle wants. But it turns out that Cat's mentor is actually like the worst, and she has this like evil plan that she's hatching. Basically, it's going to happen at the mall, and if Beetle wants to save BG, she and Cat sort of have to work together. She has to get Cat to help and be like self-confident and stand up for herself. And she also has to actually use her magic, which is something she's been avoiding. This is another one that I haven't read yet, but it was very popular at the previous library that I worked at. And again, I can't wait to read it. Then we have Too Bright to See by Kyle Lugoff. I don't know if you pay attention to any children's literature book awards, but this won a Stonewall this year and a Newbery Honor. So hopefully the buzz around that has already put it on your radar, but just in case it hasn't, this is about Bug. And Bug and Mora, who is Bug's best friend, are in their summer before middle school, and Mora wants to spend the whole summer just preparing for middle school, so figuring out how to put on makeup, deciding which boys are the cutest, and all of that. Bug has no interest in these quote-unquote girl things, and also has kind of more significant problems because Bug is pretty sure that the house that they live in is haunted, and Bug is trying to figure out like what's going on, what the ghost wants, and what the ghost is really trying to say. And Bug is also figuring out what's going on with their own identity as well. So, ghost story plus queer story, what more could you want? Then we have Almost Flying by Jake Maya Arlo, which was a book that I read last summer, and I really loved it. So the main character in this book is Dahlia, and Dahlia is a roller coaster aficionado, but she's never actually ridden one, and that's all she really wants, and so she has this whole like scheme to spend her summer doing just that. And her dreams are sort of dashed when I can't remember if it's her dad or her mom, is getting married to someone new, and the two parents want Dahlia to bond with her future stepsister, Alexa. So Alexa is not happy about this either because she was planning a whole amusement park road trip that she now has to cancel. So Dahlia gets an idea in her head, and Dahlia is like, you know what, why don't I just go on the trip with Alexa and we can do our bonding there, and I can finally ride a roller coaster. And Dahlia also wants to bring her new friend Ronnie from her swim team. So things sort of get off to a rocky start because Alexa does not really want Dahlia to be on this road trip. And also, Alexa's girlfriend is along too, and Dahlia didn't know about that, and she has to keep it a secret, and that's kind of stressful. But finally, like, things start to smooth over. The two future stepsisters do start to do a little bonding, or at least start to, like, understand one another a little bit better. And as this is happening, Dahlia is also coming to the realization that she might have more than a friend feelings for Ronnie. So it is essentially like an awesome road trip story, but with a bit of a queer romance as well. Then we have Hazel's Theory of Evolution by Lisa Jane Bigelow. And this is, as far as I have found, the only middle grade that I've seen or read so far that has to do with asexuality. So Hazel lives on a farm with her 2 moms, and when she's not helping with farm chores like tending to their goats, she is busy reading like every encyclopedia that she can find because she loves to learn new things. But no matter how much she reads, she can't find the answers to some of the questions she has, like what's going to happen when she starts at a new school, or if her mom who is pregnant is going to be okay after she's already had 2 miscarriages, or why her best friend is suddenly hanging out with her former bully, which is really like hurting her. And to top it all off, everyone around her seems to be like having crushes on people, and she doesn't feel that at all. So I don't remember exactly. I don't know if the word asexuality is ever like said on the page, but it's very clear that through the book, Hazel is sort of exploring that aspect of her identity and possibly being asexual and aromantic. So I think it's a really nice first exploration of that. Next up, we have Ivy Aberdeen's Letter to the World by Ashley Herring Blake, and Ivy and her family lose their home when a tornado passes through their town, but that's really only one of her problems. Something is going on between her and her sister because she sort of overheard something that her sister said, and it's making her feel a little uncertain about their relationship. And also, Ivy has a secret, which is that whenever she thinks about having a crush on someone, like all of her classmates, she thinks about having a crush on a girl, not a boy. And then Ivy starts getting these notes in her locker, and she really hopes that they're from a classmate who she's sort of starting to have romantic feelings for. So there's a little bit of a mystery aspect to it, and there's also like a complex family relationship and this aspect of figuring out your identity and those first crush things and whether your crush is requited or unrequited. So it's got a lot going on amidst the whole backdrop of recovering from a tornado. And I didn't want to include too many like books by multiple authors, but Ashley Herring Blake does have 2 other middle grades with queer girl main characters as well. Hazel Bly and the Deep Blue Sea and The Mighty Heart of Sunny St. James. So if Ivy Aberdeen sounds good, or if you've already read that, you might want to check those out as well. Next is Hurricane Child by Kason Callender. And this book is about Caroline, who was born during a hurricane, which is unlucky. And she is feeling that lack of luck because she gets bullied at school, she is being followed around her island by a spirit, and her mom left her family. But then she feels like maybe her luck is starting to change because a new girl shows up to school and she becomes Caroline's first friend and also her new crush. But the thing is that another hurricane is coming, and Caroline is determined to find out where her mom is before like the hurricane gets really bad. So Kalinda, the new girl, decides to accompany Caroline and help her, but it's unclear whether she reciprocates Caroline's feelings. And so Caroline needs to find her mother and stand up to the spirit that's haunting her, and also sort of confront her feelings for Kalinda and figure out if they're mutual as well. And all of this takes place in St. Thomas, so it's a bit of a unique setting for a middle grade book. Next is How to Become a Planet by Nicole Mellody, and this is about Pluto. Pluto suffers pretty severely from depression. She struggles to get out of bed each day, and she doesn't want to do any of the things she normally loves to do during the summer. She missed the last month of 7th grade because of her depression, and in order to go to 8th grade in the fall, she makes this list of all the things she needs to accomplish in order to be better. When New Kid on the Boardwalk, Fallon, sees Pluto's list, she asks if she can help her and Pluto can help Fallon with her own list. Pluto reluctantly agrees to this because, she's still not really feeling like being around other people. And this tentative new friendship is struck. But of course, as we know, depression doesn't go away just because you want it to. And there are a lot of setbacks that Pluto needs to work through during this journey. And there's also a bit of a romance happening between Pluto and Fallon, and Fallon is also sort of beginning her journey of figuring out if she is like non-binary or gender fluid. She knows she does not really feel like a girl, and again, non-binary, gender fluid, those terms aren't used on the page, but it's sort of clear that Fallon is questioning that aspect of her identity throughout the book. And again, Nicole Melody has 2 other books that you might be interested in checking out. One is called Hurricane Season, and one is called In the Role of Brie Hutchins. Both also feature queer girls. Next is Different Kinds of Fruit by Kyle Lukoff. This is another one that comes out in April, so not too long to wait. And this book is about Annabelle. And she is used to just everything being the same, super monotonous. Then there's a new kid who shows up at school, and everything seems much more exciting. Bailey seems super great. Annabelle loves hanging out with them. She loves hearing about their life in Seattle. She loves going to their house, all of that. And she might even be developing some romantic feelings for Bailey. And then her dad tells her that Bailey has something kind of unusual in common with him, and that sort of rocks Annabelle's world. She has to adjust her worldview, not just related to her family and like the identity she thought she had within that, but also adjust her worldview about her community, who it seems may not be as welcoming as she always felt that they were. So again, I know I said I was trying not to mention authors multiple times, but both of Kyle Lukoff's books are so good that I just needed to. Same with Case and Calendars. Anyway, moving on to Zenobia July by Lisa Bunker. So Zenobia has recently moved across the country. She used to live in Arizona, now she lives somewhere in New England, I believe, with her aunts. And she's starting at a new school where she feels much more welcome, and she is finally living openly as the girl that she's always known she was. So she is developing all of these great new friends, and she's having like a really good experience, and then someone anonymously posts these really hateful memes on her school website. And it turns out that Zenobia is also like a supercomputer genius, and so she knows that she has the skills to solve this mystery and help her school get back to the safe place that she felt it was. And there's another significant secondary character in this story who is, I don't remember how they describe themselves, if it's gender queer or gender fluid or non-binary, but not cis, essentially. So in addition to Zenobia being trans, there is this other pretty big representation, and Zenobia lives with her aunts who are queer. So all of that, great. Next is Anna on the Edge by AJ Sass, and Anna is a figure skating champion. She also has never been like the frilly dressed, super feminine type. And then she finds out that the upcoming season, the programs have to be princess themed, and she is not thrilled about that. And she's at the ice rink, and she meets a new skater who is trans, and that new skater identifies Anna as a boy. She doesn't correct him, and she enjoys getting to sort of assume a boyish identity when she's around him. But juggling these identities is really tricky for her, and as like the princess program gets nearer and nearer, Anna has to make some decisions about her own identity and like how she wants to keep going. I think this is really interesting because you don't get a lot of books about like figure skating in general, but then just like it's, when it comes to girls figure skating, it seems like that is really like stereotypically feminine. So it was just really refreshing to see this presentation of, again, non-binary, gender fluid, that type of representation in something that is so usually traditionally femme, and exploring that and how that can work for people who do identify as non-binary or not specifically masculine or feminine. Next, we have The Insiders by Marco Shiro, which is about Hector. And Hector has moved to a new school. He is gay, and being out and gay was not a problem at all at his old school, but he does not feel welcome here at his new school. He feels really, really alone. And he ends up spending a lot of time hiding in the janitor's closet. And one day, he goes into the janitor's closet, and it isn't just a closet. It's the secret room that really shouldn't exist. And it ends up connecting him to these two other kids who are in completely opposite parts of the country. And suddenly he has two new friends, and instead of feeling super alone, he sets off on this year of magic and adventure. Next is The Deep and Dark Blue by Nikki Smith. This is another graphic novel. And it is about siblings named Hawk and Grayson, and after political upheaval threatens their lives, they have to flee from the home they've always known, and they also have to assume new identities as Hannah and Grace. And they end up finding a safe space in this commune of magical women called the Communion of Blue. And there they can sort of be safe and hide and figure out a plan for returning to their old lives, getting their political standing back, and all of that. And Hawk, he is ready to go back. He is excited. He wants his old identity back. He does not want to continue to live as Hannah. Grace is really torn because she does not want to leave the place where she's been able to live openly as a girl. And so there's magic and there's adventure, but there's also a good storyline about a trans character. Next is The Witch Boy by Molly Ostertag, and this is another graphic novel, and this is about Aster. And in Aster's family, girls are raised to be witches and boys are raised to be shapeshifters. Aster, at 13, has not shifted yet and is completely interested in and fascinated by witchcraft, even though that is forbidden. Then there's this mysterious evil force that comes and is threatening all of the boys in his family. And he is pretty sure that he can help, but not as a shapeshifter, as a witch. So luckily Aster has encouragement from a new friend, but will need all the courage they can muster in order to be the one to save the family. Then we have This Is Our Rainbow, which is a collection of short stories that is edited by Nicole Mellody and Catherine Locke, and it features very diverse queer representation and authors of a variety of backgrounds as well. So in this anthology, you will find stories with everything from witches and dragons to gymnastics to boy bands. So whether you want to read about crushes or first kisses or coming out, it is really the perfect book to pick up if you want a taste of a wide variety of LGBTQ stories. Next we have another graphic novel, Cattywampus by Ash Van Otterloo. And there are two witches in this town where magic is forbidden, and one of them is Delpha, and she does not like following the rules. So when she finds this old secret spell book, she doesn't care that magic is forbidden. She wants to use it to cast a hex to solve her family's money troubles. Meanwhile, Katie has a family who has been practicing magic in secret forever, but her magic seems to be weak or not working properly, and she has this fear that it's because she's intersex. So both girls want access to this secret spell book, and they have a fight over it, and this results in a rogue hex that brings back a bunch of their ancestors. So if they don't want these really angry zombies to take over their town, they have to work together to prevent that destruction. So it's really fun, magic adventure story, but also has an intersex character, which is not something you see in a lot of middle grade books. Then we have Thanks a Lot Universe by Chad Lucas, and this is about Brian and Ezra. Brian's anxiety takes a turn for the worse when he ends up in foster care and he starts having panic attacks. Ezra is concealing a secret, which is that he has a crush on Brian. So when Brian and his brother run away, Ezra feels like he has to like get over this fear of people knowing that he has a crush and reach out and help. And both Ezra and Brian have to decide if being vulnerable and revealing these like secret parts of themselves is worth it. But if they do, maybe they will find a happy ending. Next we have In the Key of Us by Mariama J. Lockington, and this comes out in April. This is about Andy and Zora, who are the only two Black girls who are attending Harmony Music Camp, and both of them are reluctant to be there. Andy is reluctant because she is still grieving the loss of her mother, and Zora is just really tired of constantly trying to please her parents, who really want her to be a flute prodigy, whereas she really wants to be a dancer. As the only two Black girls at the camp, they do eventually start to bond and open up to one another and realize perhaps that their feelings for one another go beyond friendship. So then we have The One Who Loves You the Most by Medina. This also is out in May, I believe, and it is about Gabriella. Like most middle schoolers, Gabriella is trying to find their place in the world, but it's a little bit more of a struggle for Gabriella, who doesn't feel at home in their body, doesn't feel at home in their white foster family, doesn't feel at home without their mother, who is suffering from depression and not able to care for them. But with the new school year comes new hope. There's a new project to work on, there's a new group of friends who are in the queer community, there's a new YouTube channel, and all of this can help Gabriella on their journey to figure out who they really are. So that is all 20 of the books that I wanted to share with you that have queer characters in them. I did want to give an honorable mention to The Bested It by Malik Panjoli. I didn't want to do a whole spiel about it again because I did just talk about that one in my favorite middle grade books video, but it's a really great contemporary story with a gay main character, so if you haven't read that one, I would say go ahead and add that to your list as well. Okay, so that's it for now. I would love to hear if you have favorite middle grade books with queer characters, so you can go ahead and leave me a comment if that's the case, and I will see you next time.